Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be posting something like this, but here I am. I'm Mark, a 34-year-old guy who thought he had a pretty solid marriage with a beautiful wife, Emily. We've been married for 6 years, and like any relationship, we had our ups and downs, but I always believed we were strong enough to weather any storm. Emily and I met in college, and we clicked instantly. She's charming, funny, and has this magnetic personality that draws people in. Over the years, we built a life together. Bought a cozy house in the suburbs, went on memorable vacations, and even started talking about having kids someday. But lately, things have taken a sharp turn, and I'm here to share my story, hoping it might help someone else going through a similar ordeal. It all started a few months ago when Emily's behavior began to change. At first, it was subtle things. She became more secretive with her phone, started going out more often, and seemed less interested in spending time with me. I chalked it up to stress from her job. She works in marketing and often has to deal with demanding clients and tight deadlines. But then, there were more obvious signs. She'd come home late, claiming she had to work overtime, yet she didn't seem exhausted or frazzled. Instead, she looked happy, like she was glowing, which should have been a good thing, but it didn't sit right with me. I tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut, telling myself I was just being paranoid. One night, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I know it's not right to snoop, but curiosity got the better of me. I glanced at the screen and saw a message from someone named Brad. The message read, "Can't wait to see you again tomorrow." My heart sank. Who was Brad? And why was he sending my wife flirty messages? I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I started paying more attention to her actions. Emily had always been a bit of a social butterfly, but now she seemed to be fluttering in a different garden. She'd get dressed up even for casual outings, something she never used to do. And there were more late nights, more work dinners, and an increasing number of excuses. I decided to do a little investigating. I'm not proud of it, but I had to know what was going on. I checked our phone bill and found a number that she had been texting and calling frequently. I called the number from my own phone, and a man answered. I hung up immediately, my mind racing. It was him. Brad. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing Emily with this other guy, and it made my blood boil. How could she do this to me? To us? The next day, I decided to follow her. She said she was meeting a friend for dinner, but I didn't believe her. I tailed her car and watched as she pulled into a restaurant parking lot. A few minutes later, a sleek black car pulled up next to hers, and out stepped Brad. Tall, handsome, and clearly well off, he greeted her with a kiss on the cheek. My heart shattered into a million pieces. There it was, the confirmation I dreaded but needed. Emily was cheating on me. I felt a mix of rage, betrayal, and profound sadness. I wanted to storm into the restaurant and confront them both, but I held back. I needed to think, to figure out my next move. I drove back home, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. How could she betray me like this? What did I do wrong? Was our entire marriage a lie? I knew I had to confront her, but I needed to gather my thoughts and approach it calmly. Emily would be home in a few hours, and I had to prepare for the most difficult conversation of my life. When Emily got home, I was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch TV. She walked in with that same bright smile, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. I waited for her to settle down before making my move. "Hey, Em, can we talk?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sure, what's up?" she replied, looking a bit puzzled. I took a deep breath. "I know about Brad." Her face went pale, and for a moment she was speechless. Then she composed herself and said, "What do you mean, you know about Brad?" "Don't play dumb, Emily. I saw you with him at the restaurant tonight. I've seen the messages. I know you're having an affair." She stared at me, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and anger. "You followed me? You went through my phone?" I stood up, my frustration boiling over. "Yes, I did. Because you've been acting shady for months. I had to know what was going on, and now I do." Emily crossed her arms, a defiant look on her face. "So what if I am? You're always working late, always too tired to do anything fun. Brad actually makes me feel alive." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. "So what? This is my fault? You decided to cheat on me because I'm working hard to support us?" She rolled her eyes. It's not just that, Mark. Our marriage has been dead for a while. We barely talk, we never go out. And the sex, it's practically non-existent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So instead of talking to me, you just run off with the first guy who shows you a little attention. Brad's more than that, she snapped. He listens to me, makes me feel special. Something you haven't done in a long time. I was at a loss for words. This wasn't the Emily I knew. Or maybe it was, and I had just been too blind to see it. So, what now? Are you leaving me for him? She hesitated, her expression softening for a moment. I don't know. I didn't plan this, Mark. It just happened. Well, it didn't just happen, Emily. You made a choice. And now you have to deal with the consequences. We stood there in silence, the weight of her betrayal hanging heavy in the air. I felt like my whole world was collapsing, and I had no idea how to stop it. Over the next few days, things were tense. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was only about mundane things like groceries or bills. I spent a lot of time thinking about our marriage, about where things went wrong. I wasn't perfect, but I never thought it would come to this. I confided in my best friend Mike, who was just as shocked as I was. He suggested I talk to a lawyer, but I wasn't ready to go down that road yet. I needed to understand why Emily did this, and if there was any chance of salvaging our relationship. One evening, I decided to confront her again. Emily, we need to talk about this. I need to know why you did it. Was there something I could have done differently? She looked at me, her eyes hardening. You just don't get it, do you? I'm done with this marriage. I want to be with Brad. He makes me happier than you ever did. I was stunned. So, you're leaving me? Just like that? Yes, Mark, she screamed. I'm done trying to fix something that's been broken for years. Brad is better for me, and I'm better off with him. We stood there, the reality sinking in. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't looking for a way to mend things. She was leaving, and she didn't care about the destruction she was leaving behind. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how things had gotten so bad. The woman I loved, the life we built together, it was all falling apart. I felt betrayed, abandoned, and utterly lost. The trust was shattered, and I wasn't sure if I could ever recover from this. My life was never going to be the same again. The days that followed felt like a blur. Emily started spending more and more time away from home, often staying over at Brad's place. Each time she left, it was like a knife twisting deeper into my heart. I found myself going through the motions at work, barely able to focus on anything other than the wreckage of my marriage. Nights were the hardest. Our bed felt enormous and empty without her. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, replaying our last conversation over and over in my head. The anger, the betrayal, the sheer audacity of her words, every detail haunted me. I couldn't wrap my head around how our love had disintegrated into this mess. I began to isolate myself from friends and family. I didn't want to explain what was going on. I didn't want to see the pity in their eyes or hear the well-meaning but empty reassurances. The few times I did open up, it was to Mike. He tried to get me out of the house, drag me to the gym, or even just go for a beer, but I wasn't interested. One night, after another sleepless stretch, I decided I needed answers. Real, honest answers from Emily. I called her, and to my surprise, she picked up. I could hear the background noise of a lively bar. "Mark, what do you want?" she asked, her tone impatient. "Can we talk?" I pleaded. "Face to face, I need to understand why you did this." There was a pause. "Fine. Tomorrow night, I'll come by after work." The next evening, she walked in, looking as put together as ever. I could smell Brad's cologne on her, which sent a wave of nausea through me. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared countless meals and conversations. "Why, Emily?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why did you choose him over me?" She sighed, looking almost bored. "I told you, Mark. He makes me feel alive. He gives me what you can't." "And what's that? Money? Excitement? Sex?" Her eyes flashed with anger. "All of it, Mark. He's everything you're not. He pays attention to me. He makes me feel desirable. He doesn't take me for granted." I felt my anger rising. "I never took you for granted. I worked hard for us, for our future." "Your future," she corrected. "I never wanted this mundane life. I never wanted to be just another suburban housewife. Her words stung, but there was a painful truth to them. We had grown apart, and I had been too blind to see it. So that's it? You're just going to walk away? Yes, she said coldly. I'm done. I've already started moving my things to Brad's place. This is goodbye, Mark. I watched as she stood up and walked out the door, leaving me with a hollow feeling in my chest. It was really over. Our marriage, our life together, it was all gone. In the following weeks, I fell into a deep depression. I went through the motions at work, but my heart wasn't in it. I avoided our mutual friends, too ashamed to face their questions. The house felt like a mausoleum, filled with memories of happier times. One day, while aimlessly scrolling through the internet, I stumbled upon a subreddit dedicated to relationship advice. Desperate for some kind of solace or guidance, I decided to post my story. I poured my heart out, detailing the affair, the confrontation, and the emotional aftermath. To my surprise, the community responded with overwhelming support. Strangers from around the world shared their own stories of betrayal and heartbreak. Their words of encouragement and empathy started to chip away at the numbness I'd been feeling. One comment stood out. Healing takes time. Focus on yourself and what makes you happy. You deserve better. It was a simple message, but it resonated deeply with me. For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could find a way to rebuild my life. I began to take small steps toward recovery. I reconnected with friends, started going to the gym with Mike, and even picked up an old hobby, playing the guitar. Slowly but surely, I began to reclaim parts of myself that I had lost during my marriage. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, they did. About a month after Emily moved out, I got a call from an unknown number. Hesitant, I picked it up. Mark, it's Brad. My heart pounded in my chest. What do you want, Brad? We need to talk. Can we meet up? I didn't want to see his face, but curiosity got the better of me. Fine. Where? He suggested a local coffee shop, and we agreed to meet that afternoon. I sat in a corner, nursing a coffee, when he walked in. He looked different, tired, stressed. Not the confident guy I imagined. Thanks for meeting me, he said, sitting down. Just get to the point, I snapped. Brad sighed, running a hand through his hair. Emily's been lying to both of us. I was taken aback. What are you talking about? He leaned in, lowering his voice. She's been seeing someone else. I found out last night. My mind raced. You mean, she's cheating on you too? He nodded. With some guy she met at work. I thought we had something real, but I guess I was just another distraction for her. I couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of satisfaction. Well, welcome to the club. Brad looked genuinely remorseful. I'm sorry, Mark. I never meant to come between you two. I thought she was unhappy, and I could make her happy, but I see now that she's not who I thought she was. We sat there in silence for a while, processing the bizarre turn of events. Eventually, he got up to leave. Take care, Mark. I hope you find someone who truly appreciates you. Yeah, you too, I muttered, still in shock. When I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about what Brad had said. Emily was out there, bouncing from one guy to another, leaving a trail of destruction in her wake. Part of me wanted to confront her, but I knew it wouldn't change anything. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with them. I decided to focus on my own healing instead. I threw myself into work, started going out more with friends, and even tried online dating. It felt strange at first, but it was a welcome distraction. I met a few nice women, went on a few dates, but nothing serious. It was too soon for that. One night I got a message on Reddit from a woman named Lisa. She had read my post and wanted to share her own story of betrayal. We started chatting, and I found myself looking forward to our conversations. She was funny, kind, and had been through a similar experience. We bonded over our shared pain, and slowly, a friendship blossomed. Lisa encouraged me to take up new hobbies and step out of my comfort zone. I started hiking, something I had never done before, and found solace in the quiet beauty of nature. Each step on the trail felt like a step away from my past and toward a brighter future. Then, out of the blue, Emily showed up at my doorstep one evening. She looked disheveled and desperate. Mark, I made a mistake. Can we talk? She pleaded. Every fiber of my being screamed to slam the door in her face, but I let her in, more out of curiosity than anything else. She sat on the couch, tears streaming down her face. Brad and I are over, and the other guy. It was just a mistake. I miss you, Mark. I want to come home. I stared at her, a mix of anger and pity swirling inside me. You can't be serious, Emily. You think you can just waltz back in here after everything you've done? I know I messed up, she sobbed, but I love you, Mark. Please give me another chance. I shook my head, feeling a strange sense of calm. Emily, I loved you. I gave you everything I had, but you threw it all away. I deserve better than this. She looked at me, stunned. So, that's it? You're just going to throw me away? You threw us away, I corrected her. I'm moving on. You should too. With that, I stood up and walked her to the door. Goodbye, Emily. As I closed the door behind her, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was over. Truly over. And for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. I had faced the betrayal, endured the pain, and come out stronger on the other side. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I knew I could handle whatever came next. With Lisa's friendship and the support of my friends, I was ready to start a new chapter in my life, one filled with hope, self-discovery, and the promise of better days to come. After closing the door on Emily, I felt a profound sense of relief. It was as if a heavy burden had been lifted, and I could finally start to focus on myself. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into activities that I had neglected for too long. I reconnected with old friends, picked up my guitar again, and even started painting, a hobby I had abandoned years ago. Lisa and I continued our conversations, and it became clear that our connection was growing stronger. One weekend, we decided to meet in person. We chose a cozy cafe downtown. I was nervous, but the moment I saw her, all my anxiety melted away. She was just as warm and kind in person as she had been online. We talked for hours, sharing stories, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. It felt easy, natural. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. As our friendship deepened, we started spending more time together. We went hiking, explored new restaurants, and even took a weekend trip to the mountains. Being with Lisa was like a breath of fresh air. She understood my pain because she had been through it too, and together, we began to heal. Meanwhile, Emily's attempts to reach out continued. She sent me messages, called me, even showed up at my workplace once. But I stood firm. I had made my decision, and I wasn't going back. It was difficult at times, especially when I saw how desperate she had become, but I knew that letting her back into my life would only bring more pain. One evening, while Lisa and I were having dinner at my place, my phone buzzed with yet another message from Emily. Lisa noticed my troubled expression and asked what was wrong. "It's Emily," I said, sighing. "She just won't give up." Lisa reached across the table and took my hand. "You need to do what's best for you, Mark. You've come so far. Don't let her drag you back into the darkness." Her words were exactly what I needed to hear. I blocked Emily's number and deleted all her messages. It was time to fully let go. As the weeks turned into months, my life continued to improve. Lisa and I grew closer, and our friendship eventually blossomed into a romantic relationship. We took things slow, both of us cautious but hopeful. Being with her felt right in a way I hadn't experienced in years. One day, while we were hiking up a scenic trail, Lisa turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Have you ever thought about sharing your story more broadly? Maybe writing a book or a blog? Your journey could help a lot of people." I considered her suggestion. Writing had always been a way for me to process my thoughts and emotions. Maybe sharing my story could be a way to give back, to help others going through similar experiences. Over the next few months, I started writing. I poured my heart into the pages, detailing the ups and downs of my marriage, the betrayal, and the journey of healing and self-discovery. It was a cathartic experience, and with Lisa's encouragement, I decided to publish it online. The response was overwhelming. People from all walks of life reached out, sharing their own stories of heartbreak and recovery. Many thanked me for being open and honest, saying that my words had given them hope and strength. One message stood out. It was from a woman named Sarah, who had been struggling with her own marriage after discovering her husband's infidelity. She wrote about how reading my story had given her the courage to confront her husband and seek help. Her words touched me deeply. and I realized that sharing my pain had turned into something positive. Life continued to move forward. Lisa and I built a life together, full of love and mutual respect. We supported each other through the tough times and celebrated the good ones. My book gained a modest following, and I started speaking at local events about my experience, hoping to inspire others to find their own path to healing. One evening, after a particularly moving event, Lisa and I sat on our porch, watching the sunset. She turned to me, her eyes filled with love and pride. "You've come so far, Mark. I'm so proud of you." I smiled, squeezing her hand. "I couldn't have done it without you, Lisa. You helped me find my way back to myself." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I realized that while my journey had been filled with pain and heartbreak, it had also led me to a place of strength and renewal. I had learned to value myself, to let go of what no longer served me, and to embrace the possibilities of the future. In the end, Emily's betrayal had been a catalyst for change. It had forced me to confront my own shortcomings and find a new path. And while I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, I knew that I had come out stronger and wiser on the other side. Lisa rested her head on my shoulder, and we watched the stars appear in the night sky. I felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that I had finally found my way home. Just as life seemed to be settling into a new normal, an unexpected twist turned everything upside down. It was a Tuesday evening, and Lisa and I were having dinner when my phone rang. I glanced at the screen and saw an unfamiliar number. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something compelled me to answer. "Hello?" "Mark, it's Emily." My heart skipped a beat. "Emily? How did you get this number?" "Please, Mark, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." I glanced at Lisa, who nodded, indicating she understood. I stepped outside, trying to keep my composure. "What is it, Emily?" I'm pregnant," she said, her voice trembling. The ground seemed to shift beneath my feet. "What? How? How do you know it's mine?" "I don't," she admitted. "But I need your help. I don't know what to do." My mind was racing. Emily pregnant? After everything that had happened, I felt a mix of anger, confusion, and a strange sense of responsibility. "Where are you?" I asked. "I'm at Brad's place. Can you come over?" I hesitated, then sighed. "I'll be there soon." When I hung up, Lisa was waiting, concern etched on her face. "What happened?" "Emily's pregnant," I said, still in shock. "She doesn't know if it's mine or Brad's, but she wants to talk." Lisa's eyes widened. "Oh my God, do you want me to come with you?" "No, I think I need to handle this on my own," I replied, giving her a reassuring kiss. "I'll be back soon." As I drove to Brad's place, 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. What if the baby was mine? What if it was Brad's? How would this affect my relationship with Lisa? My head was spinning by the time I arrived. Emily opened the door, looking more fragile than I had ever seen her. Her eyes were red from crying, and she seemed genuinely scared. Brad was nowhere in sight. "Come in," she said softly, leading me to the living room. I sat down, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Tell me everything." She took a deep breath. "I found out last week. I wasn't feeling well, so I went to the doctor. They did some tests and, well, I'm about 8 weeks along. Brad and I have been strained, and now this." I could hear the panic in her voice, and despite everything, a part of me felt for her. "Have you told Brad?" She nodded. "Yes, but he's furious. He doesn't want anything to do with me or the baby." I shook my head in disbelief. "So, what do you want from me, Emily?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I don't know, I don't have anyone else to turn to. I know I've messed up, Mark. I've hurt you more than I can ever make up for. But I'm scared and alone, and I don't know what to do." Her vulnerability tugged at my heartstrings. Despite the betrayal, I couldn't completely turn my back on her. "Okay, we'll figure this out. First, we need to confirm who the father is." She nodded, wiping her tears. "Thank you, Mark. I didn't know who else to call." We made arrangements for a paternity test, and I left, feeling a mix of emotions. When I got back to Lisa's place, she was waiting anxiously. "How did it go?" she asked, pulling me into a hug. "She's scared," I said, sighing. We're going to get a paternity test to see who the father is. Lisa nodded, her expression thoughtful. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Her words were a balm to my frazzled nerves. I knew that whatever the outcome, I wouldn't have to face it alone. The next few days were a whirlwind. Emily and I went to the clinic for the test, and the waiting was excruciating. Lisa was my rock, supporting me through the uncertainty and helping me stay focused on the present. Finally, the day of the results arrived. I met Emily at the clinic, and we sat in tense silence as the nurse handed us the envelope. I took a deep breath and opened it. My heart pounded as I read the words. Mark Johnson is not the biological father. I felt a rush of relief, but also a strange sense of loss. I wasn't the father, but Emily's situation was still dire. She burst into tears and I held her, offering what comfort I could. "It's going to be okay, Emily," I said softly. "We'll figure something out." Over the next few weeks, Emily struggled to come to terms with her situation. Brad had cut all ties, leaving her to navigate her pregnancy alone. Despite everything, I couldn't just abandon her. With Lisa's support, I helped Emily find a counselor and connect with resources for single mothers. As the months passed, Emily's belly grew, and so did her resolve. She found a small apartment and started preparing for the baby's arrival. We maintained a civil relationship, but our interactions were limited. My focus was on building a future with Lisa, who had stood by me through every twist and turn. One evening, as Lisa and I were having dinner, she took my hand. "Mark, I've been thinking. How would you feel about moving in together?" Her proposal caught me off guard, but in the best way possible. "I'd love that," I said, smiling. Our relationship deepened as we navigated the challenges and joys of blending our lives. We moved in together, creating a home filled with love, laughter, and mutual support. Emily gave birth to a healthy baby girl and began to find her footing as a single mother. Through it all, I learned that life is unpredictable and often throws us curveballs. But with the right people by your side, you can face anything. Lisa was my anchor, my partner, and my best friend. Together, we built a life that was stronger and more fulfilling than I had ever imagined. Months passed, and life continued its unpredictable course. Emily was adjusting to life as a single mother, and while our interactions remained limited, I saw glimpses of her determination to make things work. Brad was out of the picture completely, and Emily was doing her best to focus on her daughter and her new life. One afternoon, as Lisa and I were settling into our new home, we received an unexpected visitor. It was Emily, looking more composed than the last time I had seen her. She stood at the doorstep, holding a small, neatly wrapped gift. "Hi, Mark," she said, her voice steady. "Can I come in?" I looked at Lisa, who nodded, giving me a reassuring smile. "Sure, Emily. Come on in." We moved to the living room and Emily took a seat. "I know this is probably strange, but I wanted to give you something." She handed me the gift, and I unwrapped it to reveal a framed photo of her baby girl. "This is Ava," Emily said softly. "I wanted you to have this. You've been a part of her life, even if just briefly, and I thought you should know her." The gesture was unexpected and deeply touching. "Thank you, Emily. I appreciate this." Emily looked around the room, taking in the changes in my life. "I see you're doing well," she said, her voice tinged with a mix of sadness and hope. "Yeah, things are good," I replied. "Lisa and I are really happy." A moment of silence fell between us, filled with unspoken words and lingering emotions. Emily seemed to be searching for something, and I could sense her struggle to reconcile her past choices with her present reality. "Mark," she began hesitantly, "I want to apologize for everything, for how I treated you, for all the pain I caused. I was lost and selfish, and I regret the way things ended." Her apology was sincere, and it touched me more than I expected. "Thank you, Emily. It means a lot to hear that. I hope you find peace and happiness with Ava." She smiled, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm trying. I'm learning to be a better person, a better mother. It's a journey, but I'm taking it one step at a time." After a heartfelt farewell, Emily left, and Lisa and I were left to process the encounter. It was a reminder of how far we had come and how much we had grown. Life had a way of testing us, but it also offered opportunities for healing and reconciliation. The following weeks were filled with a renewed sense of purpose. Lisa and I continued to build our life together, and we started discussing plans for the future. We talked about possibly starting a family of our own someday, but for now, we were focused on enjoying our life and supporting each other. One evening, while we were having dinner, Lisa looked at me with a thoughtful expression. "Mark, you've come a long way from where you were. How do you feel about sharing your story more widely, maybe in a way that can really help people?" I thought about it. Sharing my experience had already helped some people, but Lisa's suggestion gave me an idea. Maybe a blog or a series of articles. It could offer advice and support to others going through similar situations. Lisa's eyes lit up. "That's a great idea. You have a lot of insight and strength to share. It could make a big difference." With renewed energy, I started working on my blog. I wrote about my journey, the highs and lows, the lessons learned, and the hope that had carried me through. I shared tips for healing, dealing with betrayal, and moving forward. The response was positive, and I received messages from people who found comfort and guidance in my words. One day, as I was finishing up a new post, Lisa walked in with a smile. "I've got some news," she said excitedly. "What's up?" I asked, curious. "I've been asked to speak at a conference about relationship recovery and personal growth. They read your blog and thought it would be great to have both of us share our experiences." I was thrilled. "That's amazing. I'm so proud of you." We prepared for the conference together, sharing our story and offering support to others who were navigating similar challenges. Speaking at the event was a powerful experience, and it reinforced how far we had come. In the end, the journey from heartbreak to healing had brought unexpected gifts. I had found a new purpose, a deeper connection with Lisa, and a renewed sense of hope. Life continued to unfold with its ups and downs, but I faced it with strength and resilience, knowing that I had the support of those who mattered most. As we wrapped up the conference and returned to our daily lives, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Despite the pain and challenges, I had learned to embrace the journey, cherish the moments of joy, and find strength in the love and support of those around me. As we settled into our new routine, life felt surprisingly stable. Lisa and I were thriving in our relationship, our shared experiences from the conference adding a new layer of understanding and connection. We spent our days working, enjoying each other's company, and planning our future. One Saturday afternoon, we were lounging on the couch, enjoying a lazy day at home. Lisa had been feeling a bit under the weather for the past week, but she brushed it off as a mild flu. I noticed her mood swings and exhaustion, but she insisted she was fine. "Mark, can you run to the store and pick up a few things? I'm just so tired," she said, her voice faint. "Sure thing," I replied, giving her a quick kiss. "What do you need?" "Just some crackers and ginger ale. I'll be okay." I headed out, thinking nothing of it. As I wandered through the grocery aisles, I picked up her items and a few other things we needed. When I got home, Lisa was curled up on the couch, looking more fatigued than usual. "Here you go," I said, handing her the bags. "Are you sure you're okay?" "Yeah, just a little off," she replied, forcing a smile. Later that evening, as we prepared dinner, Lisa's mood seemed to shift. She was more irritable and distant. I tried to talk to her, but she brushed off my concerns, insisting she just needed some rest. A few days later, she came to me with a serious look on her face. "Mark, there's something we need to talk about." I sat down, my heart racing. "What's up?" Lisa took a deep breath. "I've been feeling sick and exhausted for a while now. I thought it was just a bug, but..." Her voice trailed off, and I noticed her hand trembling as she held out a small box. My eyes widened as I saw the word pregnancy on the label. "Are you saying..." Lisa nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I took a test this morning. It's positive." The world seemed to spin around me. I stared at her, my mind racing. "Are you sure? Have you seen a doctor?" "I haven't yet," she said, her voice breaking. "I wanted to tell you first. I'm scared, Mark. I don't know what to do." I took a deep breath, trying to process the shock. "We'll figure this out, Lisa. We'll go to the doctor together and get everything confirmed." She nodded, grateful for my support. We made an appointment for the following week, and the days leading up to it were filled with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Lisa and I talked constantly, discussing our feelings, our fears, and our hopes for the future. When the day of the appointment arrived, we sat in the doctor's office, holding hands. The doctor confirmed that Lisa was indeed pregnant, and we listened as she explained the next steps and options. Lisa looked at me with tear-filled eyes. "What are we going to do?" I squeezed her hand, feeling a surge of emotion. "We're going to do this together. We've faced challenges before, and we'll face this one too. We'll make a plan and move forward." We decided to keep the baby and embrace the new chapter in our lives. It was a surprising turn of events, but it also felt right. Lisa and I were ready to take on this new responsibility and build a family together. As the months passed, Lisa's pregnancy became a central focus of our lives. We attended prenatal classes, prepared a nursery, and navigated the ups and downs of expecting a child. Our bond grew stronger, and we found joy in the anticipation of becoming parents. One evening, as we sat together, Lisa rested her head on my shoulder. "Mark, I'm so grateful for you. I know this wasn't part of our plan, but I'm excited about our future." I kissed her forehead, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "Me too, Lisa. Life is unpredictable, but I'm glad we're facing it together." When the day finally came, Lisa gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Holding our son in my arms for the first time was a moment of pure, overwhelming joy. The journey had been filled with unexpected twists and turns, but it had also brought us closer and strengthened our love. As we looked at our newborn son, we knew that our lives had changed forever. The challenges we had faced had led us to this moment, and we embraced it with open hearts. In the end, the journey from betrayal to healing had led us to a new beginning. It had taught us the value of resilience, the power of love, and the importance of facing life's uncertainties together. Lisa and I were ready to embrace our future, knowing that no matter what came our way, we would face it with strength, hope, and the unwavering support of each other.